Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Cooking for the Family. I'm Dyvonne and today I'm going to share with you this easy stir fry recipe. If you are like me and you end up with some, I call them the odds and ends vegetables, where you have some vegetables left over from different things that maybe you've made over the last couple of weeks, they are kind of like either going to use them or you're going to throw them out. What are you going to do? What I like to do with those vegetables and how they can pretty much pair with almost any meal. So in my refrigerator, I had a half of a cabbage that I had left over, and so I wanted to go ahead and use that. I actually had got it from the farmer's market because sometimes I get, vegetables from the farmer's market or from the grocery store. I also grow a lot of my own vegetables as well. But this cabbage, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to get rid of anything that's undesirable on our cabbage, and also with some of my other vegetables I got a few blemishes, and so we're going to just remove those so that way we can go ahead and use it. Now, as a side note, if you ever wanted to grow your own cabbage, I'm going to share with you what I did last spring. I took the core of the cabbage and I used a chopstick and I put it through the bottom center of the cabbage, and then I placed it in some water. And you see right there on the screen, I placed it in some water and I let roots start to grow from the bottom. And so you see how the roots grew from the bottom of the core of the cabbage. And so that's what I did. This took about 4 to 5 weeks for those roots to grow. And then once those roots grow, what I did next is I take that and I go ahead and I plant it into, you can plant it in the ground, you can plant it into a bucket. I did here in just a regular planter. This was a 12 inches. This is a 12-inch planter that I went on and I planted in the cabbage. You water it every other day and it will continue to grow and flourish. And so that is a way to grow cabbage from cabbage if you ever want to do that. And when your roots are growing, be sure to change that water out in your cup that you're using every few days because it'll start to get cloudy on you. So be sure to change that water every few days. So I went on and I cut up my cabbage that we're going to make with our stir fry tonight. I like to put it in a bowl of cold water and get in there and just clean those inside layers. And so I just like to do that. And this is something that my mom always did, with her vegetables when she was cleaning them, put them in a nice bowl of cold water to just really clean them good. I'm going to tidy up my cutting board here and share with you the other vegetables that I'm making for my stir fry and ones that I have found that work well depending on the meal that I'm making. So tonight I'm using some carrots. I had 1 carrot left in the drawer, so I'm using this carrot, and I usually slice the carrot for the stir fry about 1/4 of an inch thick, not too much thicker than that. And then I also had a little corner of an onion left. This is a brown onion I'm using, but you can use a brown onion or you can use a white onion. Either one is fine. I'm just using about 1/4 of an onion that I had left in the drawer. And then also celery. I had a celery stalk, and so I had a few celery stalks, but this was the best one out of those ones that was just left in that drawer. And so I'm using 1 celery stalk. So I'll go ahead and I cut that up, and I put the carrots, the onion, and the celery together because those will go in my pan first, and I'm going to be putting the cabbage in last because the cabbage won't take long to cook. The celery and the carrot, I went on and I washed those and I took away any blemishes, and I also peeled my carrot before I started to slice it. Now the broccoli, I went on and just picked up some broccoli from the store, and the broccoli, I got one bunch of broccoli. This one bunch of broccoli was just a couple of dollars, and so what I like to do is I cut off that bottom part, the bottom long part of the broccoli, and then I just start to remove the florets from the base, and I just peel them off just like that. And so once I've kind of gotten some of the florets off, I take off some more of the base. Now the broccoli is great if you want to make stir fry broccoli and with carrots and onions. You can do that, and I've had that before with meatloaf. That works really good with meatloaf. I have done it, of course, when I've made chicken. It goes really good with, when I'm doing like, say, mashed potatoes, and I've done the chicken, and you can do it baked chicken or fried chicken, it's up to you. And then I've sauteed some broccoli before. If I don't want to steam it or boil it, I'll just saute it. And so what I've done also is string beans. I've also sauteed string beans. And so sometimes if you don't have a lot of one particular vegetable, gathering up a few of them together, you can go ahead and create a nice side dish for pretty much any meal. This one right here this is one Mexican squash that I had. It's called Mexican squash in the store. Or you can just use, regular zucchini if that's what you have. I cut this up about the size of a nickel, but no bigger than a quarter and about a half of an inch. Then I have a couple of garlic cloves. I'm going to mince up my garlic cloves, and then we're going to take our veggies that we have prepared. I'm going to share with you how I prepare them, and I keep my vegetables nice and bright, and the dish comes out full of just wonderful fresh flavor. So in a large pot, now actually this is a large skillet that I'm using with high sides. My sides of the skillet that I'm using, it's about 3.5 to about 4 inches. And in my skillet, and the skillet size is around about it's about 12 to 14 inch size skillet, around about there. And so in my skillet, I went on and I put my olive oil. I put a nice tablespoon of olive oil. I'm going to keep my olive oil handy in case I need to add more. So once I add my olive oil in, then I go ahead and add in the onion and the carrots and the celery. I saute them until they just become barely soft. They just start to soften up. And so once they just barely start to soften up, and this only takes maybe about, say, 3 to about 5 minutes, then I'm going to add in my broccoli. So the broccoli florets, I went on and I rinsed them. And you want to rinse them because you want to rinse them and shake them dry, because we don't want to introduce too much water just yet. We really want our vegetables to kind of sweat a little bit and introduce their own flavor into our pan. And so I have my flame also on a medium. You want to have it on a medium heat, not a high heat. And the reason why I don't have it on a high heat is I don't want my onions to brown up. And also I'm not trying to sear them, my vegetables, I'm just trying to saute them. And so I have a nice even heat on a medium heat. So once the broccoli has been in for about 5 minutes and it just also is just starting to soften, just barely, I add in the zucchini next. I haven't introduced any water or anything to my pan, so I went on and I added in the zucchini. When I add the zucchini in, then I add in the garlic. So I add in the garlic kind of towards the end, and that's because I don't want my garlic to burn or to scorch, because sometimes scorched or burned garlic can introduce a bitter taste into our vegetable stir fry. And so once I add in the zucchini, which is the squash, once I add that in the garlic, I'm going to saute this. I'm going to continue to saute this, and I'm looking in my pan to see if I need to add any more olive oil. And so if you need to add another 1 or 2 tablespoons of olive oil into your pan, you can definitely do that. Next, I'm going to put in my cabbage, and I went on and I let the vegetables that are in the pan now cook for about 3 to 5 minutes before I add in the last vegetable, which is the cabbage. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the cabbage on top. I still haven't introduced any liquid besides the olive oil into the pan. It's just the olive oil, the fresh vegetables, and the 2 cloves of minced garlic. That's all that we have in our pan. So once I put the cabbage in, and I've also drained it. So once I had my cabbage in the bowl of water, I went on and I drained the cabbage to make sure I get off any excess water. And the reason why I like to get off that excess water is because I want my vegetables to maintain a little bit of crispiness to them, a little bit of bite to them. And in order for that to happen, cooking them slow and with a minimal amount of liquid will help me to get that texture from my vegetables that I want to get. And so I'm going to continue to mix the cabbage and poke it down. Now at this point, you can add whatever seasonings that you would like for your vegetables. You can add coarse salt or kosher salt or sea salt and black pepper. I'm going to add this complete seasoning. This is the one that I'm going to use, as well as a little bit of kosher salt. And you want to season your vegetables up to your taste. You don't even have to put any particular season, just that kosher salt and pepper will also work good. And if you want your veggies to have a little kick to it, you can also add a few pinches, about 2 pinches or 3 pinches, depending on how spicy you want it, of red pepper flakes. You can also do that as well. I'm going to continue to rotate the vegetables that are almost done from the bottom to the top of the cabbage. And the reason why I'm not taking the vegetables out of the pan to then add the cabbage is I really want that heat that's coming off of the other vegetables to really help to wilt down that cabbage. And this is the kosher salt right here that I had used. I actually added it in off camera. As you guys know, when I'm cooking, I'm not just cooking. Like, my sister's calling me on the phone. She's like, what are you doing? And, my husband's coming in the kitchen, talking to me, asking me stuff, and so it's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to turn the camera back on when I added the salt. So I added the salt off camera. So I went on and I rotated those vegetables. I'm going to put the top on my pot, give it a few more minutes. I usually like to do about 3 minutes up to 5 minutes. That's usually my rule of thumb. And then you see how our vegetables are looking, how our cabbage has really wilted down, but everything just looks nice and fresh. And I didn't add any liquid, no water, no chicken broth or stock. You can use broth or stock if you want, but really taking your time and doing it this way, I found that I don't need to, and you have such wonderful flavor that comes from our vegetables. Now, to accompany our vegetable stir fry, I made this mandarin orange chicken, and you can get it at the grocery store. I got this in particular. This was at Costco. So we have our little Chinese takeout for about a fraction of the price that we made at home. But this first bite's for you. Take your bite. Now I'm going to take my bite. It is so nice and fresh. It has a nice crispiness to it. We have that cabbage. I also made some steamed rice. And making this family meal at home saves us a ton of money. But then also what's nice is that while I was cooking the vegetables, I had the chicken baking in the oven. And I followed the directions on the box. I just bake them a little bit longer to keep them nice and crispy. Well, I'm going to also share with you a visual of all the ingredients that I used. So this was my celery, my carrot, the zucchini I used, the broccoli I picked it up from the store, the cabbage, the half a cabbage I had, that little square of onion, and the 1 garlic. You can use 1 to 2 garlic. My extra virgin olive oil, and also my coarse kosher salt, and that complete seasoning, and that's by Bandia, and it's Bandia is the name of the company. Well, that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed spending time with me in my kitchen. And if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and show this video some love and give it a thumbs up, hype it, and click share. And share this video with a friend or family. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.